Bites of hay first.
I'm short. Can't always reach up there.
That's why you tell them to put their head down. So here is Lee in our 4-star long dressage test. Now this is the 4-star test B, which is the test that we have done all season. So now coming down the center line. And unfortunately, he had a bit of a bow movement going down the center line, so I lost some impulsion going into the halt. But, you know, that happens sometimes. So I had a little bit of a trot. It's supposed to be canter halt, but that's okay. He striked off pretty nicely and straight there. And coming into our shoulder in at S, so it's S to V, shoulder in. And his shoulder ends have really improved. He's gotten a lot stronger this season. And then into our half 10-meter circle to our half pass. Half passes tend to be easy for him because he is so nimble. And I tend to refer to him as riding a wet noodle. So I've really had to work on straightness. But he's feeling nice and good right now. Into our halt, almost square. Back up 5 steps and then proceed the trot. It was probably the best he's done for that movement all season. And again with our second shoulder in, now I can get him to stay much more consistent. And then to our half pass, half 10 to our half pass. Making sure I keep the shoulders ahead of the haunches. He does a very nice half pass there. And now working my transitions to the walk is coming at C. He likes to tend to drop behind me a little bit, but still a decent transition, but that will improve and become a little bit more smoother, something I have to work on. And now we're in the medium walk, which is still an active walk with the medium frame, and then I go into the extended walk. So I want his neck to extend down and out, and he should be overstepping with the hind leg from where his front foot makes a print. So he's very nice and relaxed. He kind of made me giggle because he was just wanting to stick his nose down and really stretch. So he was a good boy for that. Now we come back into the medium walk. I want to keep it active because going to canter at A. I had a good transition, and then about 2 strides, he chunked his head up at me. Goob. And now coming for the flying change. It was very nicely done over the center line. And then directly into the half pass. So this test, things come pretty quickly. And then I do an extended canter. He was really willing to go, which was nice. And then I wanted to make sure I showed a good transition back at K. And then keeping him off my seat and leg for the flying change over the center line. It was maybe a smidge late as far as accuracy goes over the center line, but it was nice and clean. And then he was funny here because he wanted to turn left, and I kept trying to indicate that we were turning right. So he had a little bit of a wiggle there, but now into our extended trot. He's really overstepping. Show my transition, making sure he's not dropping too much in the pull. He's going to be a lot stronger next year, but overall, I was super pleased with this test, and he laid down a very good score of a 31, putting us in 16th after dressage. Top Equestrian. This is clean protein. Only 4 grams of sugar.
Ooh, how many carbohydrates? That's
It's 130 calories, 17 grams of protein.
it's like a proper candy bar.
It tastes like a candy bar.
You get.
It's really good.
I got peanut butter.
That was it. It's really good. I like that.
And
18 grams.
you can microwave it, Kyle, and it's like cake in the morning.
We sound like such a bunch of like old people. How many carbs are in it? I'm diabetic. I have to eat low carbs. Okay. I was mostly just eating because it looked like it was good. And I heard Elisa liked it. What's that? This is a Built Bar. No, what flavor, dumbass? Peanut butter brownie. It tastes like a peanut butter brownie. What's yours? Man,
My favorite's the chocolate raspberry.
chocolate peanut butter is so good.
So you guys get to do taste tests. Yeah, it's tasty.
Chewy?
It's good. What kind did you get?
I got the coconut almond.
Okay. See what you think. And then, like I said, you stick it in the microwave, and it's like cake in the morning.
I'll be buying some. Very nice.
Nice. No. So these are my front possibilities, and these are the hind possibilities. I like these for the hind because it's grassy and it's not muddy yet. So if it gets muddy, then we would use these types. All right.
So Elisa's decided she needs bigger studs in the front. So they are going to make a change. They have time. Lee is one to slip a little bit. So I'm going to stop and help.
Now on to cross country with Lee. Heading to our first fence. I really wanted to try to get up on my first minute because I tend to always be slow. And of course I almost missed kind of the turn to get in here. But Lee is feeling really good. He's feeling kind of on the muscle, wanting to get at it, which is a nice feeling. So these first couple of jumps, just going to be trying to make sure I get out of a nice, good gallop stride and get into a good rhythm. And you're going to see I'm going to get, as close as I can to those ropes, really try to save ground and time. And now coming to fence 3, kind of line it up here. And I see a good shot at it. And then now heading to our first combination, which is going to be 4AB, where I'm going to come in a little bit on an angle, and I want to make sure I get down there in the 4 stride. But you can see here I'm trying to hug the ropes as close as I can, and Lee's pretty game to kind of get me as close as well. So I'm going to put my sights on fence 4. I'm going to come a little left to right so I can line up the B element so it's on a straight line. And then he does this pretty perfectly in the 4. And then I'm going to kind of head right back over to that roped area. Because again, I want to be as close to the time. I know I have a quick horse. He's a thoroughbred. But this is his first time doing 10 minutes. So I have to take that into account and make sure I manage him properly. So I don't want to go too fast in the beginning and not have enough horse at the end. So coming here to fence 5, this is kind of a different fence. There's just kind of some bushes, and he jumps out really nice and big. It was pretty fun. And then galloping along here, I'm heading to the next fence, which is a triple bar. And again, you're going to see I'm just going to try to snug in, because I'm trying to get up on my clock because I know there are some combinations further in that I want to take some time. You'll see now coming to this, I find a pretty good shot at it. And now I'm going to come down to our first water jump. In this first jump in, the profile on it's pretty vertical, so I want to make sure I got in nice and straight. And then I wanted to get on down because it was a 4 stride, and I wanted to make sure I got there early. And Lee did that pretty foot perfect there. And here's another angle of that. And you can see the second fence much better. So again, from my point of view, getting on down there, making sure I had the long reins and the wide hand for him to understand it was a skinny. So now coming up to this oxer here with a ditch underneath it, jumped it pretty well. And I wanted to go inside the trees because, again, trying to work on the time. And we have a little gallop here to another interesting fence that was a ditch wall type, but almost like a bank. So when you jump it, they land a little higher than where they took off. So Lee jumped this fairly well. You just want to make sure you're supporting on the backside for them. Now coming to the next combination, there's a couple of different ways to jump this brush combo, and I decided to do the inside line, which should have been 2, but I wanted to make sure Lee read this really well. So I kind of did a turn around a tree, and he just skipped in the 3rd stride, which for me, I wanted to make sure the goal of this cross country was to go clean and clear, and to not really make any mistakes, and to make sure that Lee understood all the questions that I asked of him. So I know there have been a couple of competitions where I kind of expected a little bit too much and wasn't quite there for him, but I feel like we're on track here, and it's pretty fun, this part of the course, kind of going in and out of the hollows and going up and down the hills. But I'm coming to a rather big table, the drop, so it took some time here for him to take a little bit of a breath, and I actually went quite slow along that ridge, and then coming to this, and he really jumps it big, kind of on my helmet cam. I'd do a little woo, because he really soared in the air. It was quite fun. And now he landed in really good control, so I was able to kind of not run down at the bottom of that hill, but kind of stay more so on the top. As we come up here and heading to just a jump up the hill, you want to make sure they're still in a good balance and that you have good impulsion coming up the hill, but you don't want them flat. And then I also probably took a little bit more time than I should, but again, I wanted to be careful because this is a pretty upright narrow. He reads it well, jumps it good. And then I cut across over here because now I have the big double corners, and they had caused some trouble on the course. They were both right-handed corners, so I was confident in doing the straight route, but I wasn't planning on doing 4. I was planning on doing 5, so I bring him back to a nice show jump canter, and he can see the corner. And then kind of in the middle of this, I ended up taking 1 too many, and I did 6. Bless him, but he jumped it fantastic. And here's where I kind of hung too low out here, and I got a little flustered because my fence 17 was all the way back up the hill, so I lost probably a good 7 seconds there. And then I just took 1 too many tugs, and he had to do a big effort over that oxer, which was completely my fault. I wish I could have found a better shot in there for him, so I kind of gave myself a kick in the pants, put that in the past. In coming to this next table, I wanted to make sure I got him to a good spot. We got a much better distance there. And then a right-handed turn. So now I'm coming to another kind of turning brush accuracy question. And this had caused some trouble as well. I wanted to make sure I got a good shot in. This should ride in 4 strides. And Lee was so good because I was able just to kind of hang on the left rein. He saw it and read it for me, so I was really proud of him through that combo. Back again through the trees. So now we're heading to the water complex. This is where it was great to have spectators. We were able to have 40% of the spectator capacity, so this is really super here. I wanted to make sure that I had nice and forward going. This is a big 2 stride, and then it was 4 strides to the skinny, and he was just super through there. Now you'll get to see a little bit from the side. Again, this course was 5,700 meters, so it was hard to have people throughout that kid video. This was Briggs, who actually had to run back and help me afterwards. So you can see us coming in. You'll get to see our bum kind of going through the combo. But again, he was just super, never hesitated, spot on. And then I wanted to make sure that I could keep on going. And so then right after the water, again, you'll see that water on my helmet cam. Sometimes it splashes on there. We just had this little back loop where we had to jump this skinny table. Again, I wanted to make sure I got to a good spot there. And then kind of zip back through. And we gallop back up this hill to a trickaner, and he's still feeling super good. Ears are pricked. Just another trickaner that I'm going to keep on galloping to. Try to not waste any time by slowing down to it. But now I've got to get them together because I have a left-handed corner to a bending to a right-handed corner. So I want to make sure I rode this well. Got a good shot in. This rode on a bending 7 line, and he just read it perfectly. So that made me super happy, super pleased. Earlier on in the season, we'd had some issues with the left-handed corner, but he just nailed it there. So you'll get to see here, I'm coming to that split rail oxer. Jumps that beautifully. And we're coming to the water complex again. And we have a pretty large table here. Jumps it very easily. And then you want to make sure you keep coming through the water to the one stride of these narrow houses. And he's very efficient and pretty quick through there. And then galloping down past. I think I've got this from another angle. You'll see I've got this ditch and wall right here. So here's the other angle, so you can see how big that table is, and Lee just steps over it really easily. And then the houses from the back side and just steps right through. Super good. And then the ditch and wall. Now coming near the end, I know I'm behind on my clock a little bit, so I'm asking Lee for more, and he still feels like he's got a lot left in the tank, so that's a great feeling. And I just want to make sure, I don't take any risk at the end, making sure I get to him to a good distance. We have the last combination here, which is 2 skinnies that walked in the 6 stride, and he's just spot on, reading the flags perfectly. Got in a little close, but I go ahead and ask him to kind of go, and he says, "Yeah, Mom, I got some more." So just really trying to scoot up because our optimum time was 10 minutes and my watch has already beeped at me. So I know I'm down on the clock. Again, we have another good sized table here. And then I've got this turn, and Lee can be a little slippery. So on my helmet cam, you'll hear me be like, "Stay on your feet," because that would be my worst nightmare, doing this and then slipping at the end. But he jumps the last fence, and he just felt super, really great. I think we were 30 seconds down on the clock, but we ended up having 10 time faults. And here you'll get to see us come into the field here. And this is from my dad's video, so it might be a little blurry. And in a minute, you'll hear my dad commentating, which I think is pretty funny.
Bring him back, bring him back, bring him back, bring him back, bring him back. Yeah, Lisa!
Like I said, we got a little close to that last skinny, but the fact that I could feel him have a lot of energy at the end, and with this being his first 4-star long, I was super pleased with our relationship and how well he recovered afterwards as well. And it was really great to have those spectators that we had back out there and hear them cheering for our horses. That's really the best part. So jog up day. So we had a first inspection on Wednesday before we started the competition, and then we have a second one to make sure the horses are sound to complete. And Lee recovered beautifully. He feels nice and fit and ready to go. like he barely even did anything yesterday. So, very, very pleased with how he looked and felt, and the judges seemed to feel the same. So on to show jump. Arguably, this is probably my weakest phase. So really making sure that I keep my nerves under control by taking deep breath and thinking positive thoughts. You know, for me, I just was thinking, okay, this is just a simple jump around. This course was causing some time faults in rails as well, so I wanted to make sure that I had a good pace heading into the jumps. So coming to our first fence, and he absolutely jumps it great. I'm like, all right, we're on it. So I wanted to ride this line pretty tight here for this rollback. And in hindsight, I could have left a stride out in this line, but I did the strides that I had intended, which were 8. And then I wanted to make sure I kept coming around the turn, trying to stay pretty zippy so I wasn't losing time. And he jumps this oxer fantastic, and then he just waits for me a little bit, but that ended up in me adding a stride in that line, so it was 9 to a 7, and then I had to keep kicking along here, but then I decided this walked in a long 6, and I chose to add and do the 7, just hold out a little longer, and then for him to just zip through, because he can tend to have a big stride in the triples. And then I could have shaved off a little bit more time here. And then I had to steady up for this vertical. And we ended up having this vertical down. And I think it's because I probably got a little excited and went over to the left side, kind of ducked left. But then he jumped the rest of the line, beautiful. And I had 2 seconds over the time with just the rail down. So that rail cost me a 9th place finish. But we finished up 17th, and I couldn't be more proud of Lee.